All right, we're gonna start taking the front end of this F350 apart. The goal is to get the bumper, the grill, headlights, hood, fenders, all that off the front end of the truck. Shouldn't take too long. Yeah, maybe we'll add in some more bonus kind of things. We'll see how it goes. All right, a little progress update. Got the grill off, the bumper off, tow hooks off, the front fenders off, both sides. I'm waiting to do the hood until I have someone here to kind of help me pull it off. It went pretty straightforward, pretty easy. The only thing that was a little bit interesting was the foam like seam sealer stuff here that you had to end up cutting off to get the fenders off. So didn't expect that, but it's the first time I've taken these fenders off. So all right, this is where we left off yesterday. Fenders, grill, bumper, whatnot off. Today we're going to be making some room in the engine bay, and then working on getting the cab up off the frame. All right. Well, I just learned something new. Makes a lot of sense here now, but made a big mess. I just disconnected this little radiator hose. Even though I'd previously drained the radiator from the drain valve here. There was definitely still some coolant left in. Got me all the way up to my elbows, splashed everywhere. But it makes sense because this hose is hanging down lower than the radiator, so probably should have realized that there's gonna definitely be some coolant down there. But yeah, now I know. All right, this is where we're at right now. Got a bunch of stuff out of the engine bay. I was planning on lifting the cab next, but there is the e-brake or parking brake cable down here. Real hard to see, but there's a little connection right there that I need to do, and tried everything I could to disconnect it with kind of standard tools. Turns out that there's a special set of pliers that help to do that real easy, but couldn't find any locally, so I can get some in tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll be able to disconnect that without cutting it, breaking it, or doing something else weird, or disconnecting it at the wheels or something. So lifting the cab will have to wait until tomorrow. So for today, I'm gonna pull the hood off and then start kind of tearing down more of the front end assembly here, and we'll see how far we can get. All right, working on getting all this taken apart, and the front cab bolt, I guess, is a pretty common thing to have happen. It's very inconvenient though. That nut, the weld on that nut broke when I was trying to loosen it from underneath. So I had to pull the radiator and everything off, and they have these nice little covers on here, so I popped that off and just trying to loosen it up. And ultimately I'm not going to use this chassis anyhow, plus that nut being broken off already creates kind of an issue. So I ended up just using a pry bar and making a little space right through there, taking the Sawzall and just chopping both bolts off. Not ideal, and I really hope it doesn't happen on the next truck, but that's what I did. All right, here is the current progress. I got pretty much everything out of the engine bay that would come out, all the main wiring harness and everything, disconnected just about everything. The two things that are not disconnected yet are the brake lines and the air conditioning. Turns out it's definitely cost prohibitive to have someone come and evac your AC to you. So since we're not keeping this cab, and this cab's going to be going to scrap and recycled anyhow, I'm probably going to just make a few cuts in there and pull the whole AC unit all out at once, and then take that down to a shop and have it evacuated. Much cheaper to do that. Plus, like I said, cutting the cab up anyway to make it manageable to scrap. So that'll be fun. So next step is to see if I can disconnect that parking brake line, and get the rest of the cab bolts off, and raise the cab up off the chassis, and then that will kind of complete the front end dismantle of the build. And after that, the next step will be kind of cutting the cab up and getting rid of that stuff. All right, here it is. The cab is lifted off of the frame. The only thing still attached is the air conditioning, and that's because, like I said earlier, I thought that I could just have someone come out here and evacuate it for me. That was not super cheap, so, and because I'm gonna cut up the cab to be recycled anyhow, I'll just cut it all out and then take that to a shop to have it properly evacuated. So yeah, the front end is very, very bare. There's no wiring, there's no nothing. Everything is off the frame. And I think probably the next step is to cut up the bed and cut up the cab to be recycled. I'm gonna cut the rockers out of the cab to, in case someone else could use them. The bed is pretty much trash, so that'll just go straight to being recycled. But yeah, in a good spot. As a side note, earlier I mentioned that I had some issues with the two front bolts that came on here, and that they were kind of stuck in there and seized, and then the welds broke, and they I had to cut them out. The rest of the cab bolts were totally fine, except for this other front driver one. I also had to cut that one out because it cross-threaded, got rusted in there or something. I'm really kind of makes me a little bit nervous about the next truck, because as you know, this power plant here, the engine, transmission, all the fuel system here is going to go in another truck. I'm hoping that I don't have those same problems with the other one, because that will be much less fun for one that I have to put back together. All right, so the cab is lifted. It's completely bare aside from the air conditioning, which I'm gonna cut out and have properly evacuated. Today is all about cutting the bed and the cab down and the doors into manageable pieces that are easier to recycle, and then properly recycling those. So it's gonna be a fun day. All right, the bed is been cut into manageable pieces and make it easier to recycle. I made quite a bit of a mess here, but here, we'll clean that up. Next up is the cab. all disassembled and ready to be recycled. Next up, I think I'm gonna push this whole chassis out and get it cleaned up a bit before I start removing parts off the frame. But this concludes the teardown of the truck. So yeah, I made quite a mess, and it was tough, but it was, you know, worth it.